If all you can do is think about it, then it's probably not worth thought. This is a quote that I often say or often think about in reference to, convoluted nonsense inside our own heads and overthought. I find that in thinking, in committing ourselves to thinking, in committing ourselves to analyzing our own issues, we often get absolved in them. We get trapped within the realization that we have some sort of control, or we think we do. And overthought about things we know we can't control, or in actuality don't control. We're losing our days in expectation of night in a way. Like, we're so committed to some of these issues that don't necessarily need our hands in them. And not to say that like we shouldn't think about things, or we shouldn't commit ourselves to trying to better a situation, but in knowing that we can't, and knowing that overthought isn't going to posit us in a better place, but action will, then just thinking about it isn't going to do for us anything for us. It's like Alan Watts said, he who thinks all the time has nothing to think of but thoughts. And that's kind of true. We get so trapped in our consciousness, in our thought processes, that we start to critique the way we think itself rather than our actions. Like, even though we're over analytical of our actions, we start to get over analytical about our thoughts about our perceived action. And I find that it's much better to like somewhat relinquish that control. Let go of the connotation your thoughts provide and their association with who you are. Like, you're not your thoughts. Your thoughts aren't necessarily exactly who you are. It's not a direct reflection of you. It's more so just a thought, something your mind made up. I find that the mind is a tool, and who you are is the thing that's perceiving the thoughts themselves. So in believing we're the thought, we're, I feel, limiting ourselves and our expression to a major degree. In thinking about thoughts, or if all we can do is think about it, then it's not worth thoughts. I mean that, we're losing a lot of our opportunity in overthought. If we take our time, like I've been trying to do this, whenever I start to overthink, like start to look at yourself inside of sort of a third person, like, and perceive yourself. And in that way you're like, oh wow, I'm like really just sitting here absolved in something that's not directly impacting me, or I can't directly influence at the time being. And I realize that we have to somewhat step outside of ourselves in order to help ourselves in some cases. It's like we're trying to watch a movie while being in the movie, and we play our roles until we actually think we're playing them. We play our roles until we think we're the character. And once we get stuck in that, that's when I feel like everything is set in. It's like I said, it's like he who thinks the journey is over is the one that's truly lost. And what I mean by that is that the more we allow ourselves to be restricted by our own thinking, the worse off we will be. It's very easy to put ourselves down and be in that negative place where we think we're this way or we think we're that way, and it's always going to be negative, or it tends to be. I feel like it's, for some reason, so much more easy and comfortable to accept a negative reality more than a positive. Like, a person could get 100 compliments positively and have someone say 2 bad things about them, and then focus on the 2 bad things. And it's like the world contains all of it, within itself. It's good and bad all at the same time. It's like a veil of emotion, but we have to decide which one we want to focus on, which one we want to give light to. If you give light to the darkness, then it's gonna be consumed, and you along with it. So I find that in doing anything, what we have to do is commit ourselves to being more present in the moment rather than stuck within our mind. Our mind is definitely a tool, as I said before, and it can definitely be subject to the biases of the world rather than who you are, you know. And in talking about who we are, I think that there also needs to be a stress and focus on developing who you are. You know, I feel like people come into this world or come into like their consciousness thinking that they already have who they are figured out, or who they are is already set in stone. But like who we are is only the reaction to the external world. Like it's a collection of memories of who we've been told. You know, I think there is some truth to like the soul and having, you know, like a punctuality to who you are, like a platform. But in terms of how you develop, I think that's completely and utterly in our hands alone.